Evening, folks. Brian here, Geomagnetic Earthwatch, Sunday, June 5. Correction, June 15, 2025. I want to express some of my thoughts and views on what's happening currently about the end times and changes in our magnetic field and the celestial crossing, etc. So if we are in the beginning of the sorrows and the earth pains, birthing pains, then soon following will be the great earthquakes, one after another and another in diverse places. During and after will be the famines and the pestilences. As a result, all of this following in the wars and the rumors of wars. But also because of the cosmic intersection, unprecedented solar storms, resulting in the destruction of the protective ozone, allowing increased levels of harmful levels of ultraviolet radiations, and so on. Now, the most reliable source, of course, is Scripture, which tells us what to look out for and how humanity will be responding, such as, again, men's hearts failing them from fear, and for looking upon those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Suggesting that people will be overwhelmed by anxiety, dread, and fear, and uncertainty about what is about to come. This can refer to the natural disasters, the wars, the famines, the spiritual disarray. But it also follows my favorite verse, once again, that nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and the tossing of the seas and the changing tides. For there's going to be the signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. Now, some are going to say, well, this is just limited to Israel. No. Because he said, the nations, plural, will be in anguish and perplexity. And it is also written to be at a prophetic future time. Now, Jesus only says before his return, he did not say what causes these events. He relates it to like that of birthing pains. Now, I'm talking about the first part of the tribulation. I'm not talking about God's wrath. That's a totally separate time period. That is the second half. In the beginnings, he does not explain what the triggering mechanisms are. He provides a brief summary when he says, when you hear of the wars and the rumors of wars, do not be terrified, for this must come first. But the end will not be all at once. Then he says to them, nations will rise against nations and kingdoms against kingdoms. There will be great earthquakes, and in various places the famines and the pestilences. And there will be terrors and great sights, great signs from heaven. He goes on to say, then they will deliver you over to be persecuted and killed. And you will be hated by all nations because of my name, Jesus Christ. This suggests that the sorrows, when they happen, will be the first part of the 3.5 years. And again, the wars, the escalation of wars, such as beginning to happen now, which means soon after will be the great earthquakes, many in diverse places all over the world, And then as a result, you'll have the famines and the pestilences, bringing most into despair and desolation, losing everything, looking for someone to bring relief, which is then at the midpoint, the two beasts. So again, the great earthquakes, such as that we've never experienced, should be starting soon. There is also the measure of the message of endurance amidst these challenges, and through his words, Jesus is preparing us for the turbulent times that may come to pass during our lives. Jesus warned his disciples of our personal cost, including persecution and even death. He emphasizes that the followers of Christ will face opposition and hatred from all nations because of our faith in him. Where does it say from Jesus we won't be here? Where does it say that? He is telling us everything, that we are going to be here. Biblical prophecy is not centered around the West. It's got nothing to do with the West. Let's switch gears just a little bit. Let's talk about what's happening right now and the fact that the United States is overstretched globally. And if a decision has to be made, who they will align with and who they need to abandon so they can have forces returned back home to America to protect America. For example, this Golden Dome, it doesn't happen overnight because of somebody's ego, and a couple of tweets. They will need a defense perimeter around America. And if it was me, I would be recalling a large percentage of the U.S. Navy back to its home waters to set up a perimeter of defense. Just like during World War II, the destroyers, the purpose of the destroyers was to provide a perimeter defense for the aircraft carriers. I would have them stationed on east, west, and southern waters of the United States. That's what I would do. So the question is, who gets sacrificed? Taiwan? Would I sacrifice Taiwan? Get everybody out? Get back home. We need you here. So if the situation escalates and someone sees the reason to deploy U.S. ground troops throughout the United States, which would eventually end up in being a countrywide martial law with travel restrictions, curfews, freedom restrictions, and so on. You need to start thinking about such things as the impact on commerce, cross-border trade, etc. Never mind skyrocketing fuel prices. Fuel rationing to go towards the war efforts and the defense of America efforts. Did you think about that one? And again, I have to remind everybody about the coming geophysical changes, events, which have to happen. And for me, I mean, for me, the timeline, the pieces of the puzzle, you can bring them all together. It's very, very easy. The incoming systems coming in, causing the great earth upheavals. Revelation 8, as it were, like a giant mountain ablaze, tossed into the sea. That which happens before the intersection of the system coming in. And I had to keep on repeating myself. The Bible does not say what causes such things as the nations being in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and the tossing of the seas and the changing tides. For the powers of the heavens will be shaken. And in this case, I think it's a literal statement. And then in the following verse, 26 of chapter 21 of the book of Luke, men's hearts will be failing them from fear, from looking upon that which is coming to the earth. We will first feel it, the earth wobble effect, the roaring and the tossing of the seas and the sloshing of the oceans back and forth. The earth reeling to and fro like a drunkard, putting everybody almost into anguish and perplexity, not understanding, comprehending what is happening, until they see the fearful sights in the heavens above, causing their hearts to fail for fear, for looking upon that which is coming to the earth, awaiting in anticipation. Can't you see it? Figure it out. There's another part in the book of Revelation when it says that power will be given to him to take away that one quarter of the life from the planet, from the earth, right? So initially you start thinking, well, there's 8 billion people right now, so that would be 2 billion dead people. But that's later on, when we get heavy and deep into it. It does not account for the loss of life through the beginnings of the sorrows and the earth pains, the wars, the earthquakes and related natural disasters, the pestilence and the famines, which are the beginnings of the sorrows. Okay, the beginnings, that which he warns us to prepare for. It's not God's wrath. God's wrath is upon those who reject him and take the mark of the beast and in worship of an idol made of him, an image made of him. So now, I think from this point on, everything's just going to greatly accelerate. And if my reasoning is true, that's 3.5 years. That's 3.5 years of the global wars, global earthquakes. And I am not talking about a spacing of, say, a year in between each major event earthquake. Like that of birth pains going into labor, it starts off. Contractions start off. And as you're there, contractions are closing in. They're becoming more violent. They're more violent until that climatic moment. So that's just what I think about the current events right now. I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, well, that's way over in the Middle East. It's not going to affect me. You are not the center of biblical prophecy. But you're going to be in the center of a shitstorm coming up. The whole world is. Places like Australia. This is the third time large SO2 emissions have been coming up now. Yeah, they do spraying. Yes, I know they did the spraying the day before, because sometimes one reasons for the stratospheric aerosol injection is to try and mitigate the effects of cosmic radiation over volcanic areas. Like I said before, I'm surrounded by volcanoes, so they do it all the time, just before incoming solar storms. Sky jockeys are out there going back and forth, back and forth. I can gauge how strong of a geomagnetic storm it's going to be over me just by looking at the number of aircraft going by. 6, oh, it's just a minor. 8, 9 planes, well, it could be a G2, moderate. 12 planes, yeah, we're going to get a G3 strong geomagnetic storm. I had a person on a YouTube comment state that I have no scientific basis over the SO2 going on, which means my research of great many years. And he's trying to tell me, oh, it's geoengineering, SO2. For what purpose? We shall soon find out. We shall soon find out if people like Edgar Casey are true. That there will be upheavals in the Antarctica and Arctic, followed subsequently by volcanic unrest eruptions in the torrid regions, the harder, drier regions, equatorial regions, as one example. Gackel Ridge caldera, right at the caldera 4.9 earthquake. So now, are we at the beginning of Earth's upheavals? Should we start the stopwatch right now? Should we start the 3.5-year stopwatch right about now? Huh? Marking the beginning? Anyway, I think that concludes this one. I don't know what time it is. I'm going to stay on top of Australia, the sulfur dioxide emissions. So this seems to have originated just offshore Gold Beach, Australia, Brisbane. And someone sent me a report that there was a mass die-off of marine life in that area. That area that has a volcanic ridge. So I would consider that a heads up for Australia and the rest of the entire world. That was all.